Hey, welcome to the Life and Homes podcast. This is your host, Mike Bova. I have a very special guest in the studio with me, Rebecca Cavalieri from Gabler Real Estate in the Capital Region. Rebecca, thanks for joining the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing well. I was a little bit sick all week, but I'm doing better now. But I want to dive right in because we're on a limited time. But
Yeah.
your journey into the real estate arena, talk about that a little bit. When did you get in, and what did you do before that?
Okay, so I have been a licensed real estate agent since 2012. Before that, I worked in social services. I worked down at the Department of Social Services, working with people who needed temporary benefits and food stamps and Medicaid. And I had bought a house that I was living in. It was a 2 to 3 family, legally a 2 family, but it had 3 units in it. And I was living on the first floor. I'd been there for about a year and a half, and the owner decided he wanted to sell. I didn't want to move again. I had moved too much in the last couple of years. So I decided to buy it. It was on 6 acres. I thought that I'd be able to put all these other apartments on the property and make all this money in real estate. And so I ended up doing seller financing. I used an attorney that the seller recommended. I didn't have a home inspection. I had no idea, what the importance of any of that was. So I just kind of skipped all of it. And then after I closed on the property, I found out that 2 of the 6 acres were wetlands, and they don't count as, in the amount of land for how many units you can have.
Wow.
Also during the transaction, I found out that it was legally a 2 family, and I thought I was buying a 3 family. And I was just kind of told that, that doesn't matter, which obviously it does.
Sure.
And then I found out, if I'd had a home inspection, I could have asked the seller to help remove all the asbestos tile in the basement. There ended up being this massive, they called it a clean fill, but it was like piles of styrofoam and metal tanks buried in the backyard. There were just so many things that, I had no idea that there was even any recourse if I wanted to do something about it.
Okay.
And then I was really upset when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to do the rentals. I thought it was going to be this big income producing property.
Sure.
And that's when I, really started getting interested in real estate. I was thinking, if I don't know all of these things and I'm out buying a house, how many other people don't know them? So I would say that one of the most important things to me when people are buying a house is that they kind of, hear my background and hear what I went through and understand that, they're not expected to know everything that's going to happen. That's what my job is. And I'm going to make sure that, the things that I went through, were all learning experiences, and having learned from them, I'm not going to let my buyers go through the same kind of thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's so needed in the industry because most people just do not know what to look for, and they have to get a real estate agent that they trust that's knowledgeable. You've been in the game for 12 years. I interviewed somebody earlier who was in for 9 years. And so talk about when you first got into it. Were you still working? Did you have a parallel income? I mean, was it like the first couple of years were rough, or was it
It was pretty rough. Yeah, I had, so I've had ongoing back issues since I had my daughter. And my back had gotten very bad. I couldn't sit at a desk anymore. So I had gone out of work at social services on disability. And then they had laid me off because they couldn't make the accommodations that I was going to need to continue working there. So I didn't have an income. I was buying used appliances on Craigslist, fixing them, and anything else I thought that I could make a couple dollars off of. And then I would resell them on Craigslist. So that was kind of my supplemental income, which
That's
did
cool.
not really pay the bills. I was very, very poor for a number of years.
Wow.
And I had started with this small broker in town where I lived. She was my neighbor, actually. And she was great to work for. But, with her business, she didn't have a ton of leads that she could share with me. And as a new agent, some of the most important things are having somebody, not only who knows what they're doing, but they have time to train you, show you how to do everything, and then help you grow your business.
Sure.
So Annie, taught me a lot of things about the business. And back then we were still doing everything on paper by fax, handwriting the contracts and scratching everything out. but then I got pregnant with my son, who's now 9, and I was, I just felt like I really needed to go somewhere. I was going to make some money. So I moved to another local brokerage who had promised all these leads and at least $75,000 a year in income. And, there were leads, but they were just not, they were kind of leads that just didn't really go anywhere.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Not qualified.
yeah. So I had seen this post on Facebook from Judy Gabler, the woman that I work for now. She was looking for an assistant, like somebody to work her buyers with her and then also do some of her paperwork and just kind of help out in the office for 20 hours a week. So I decided to try that, get some regular income going, stop selling the appliances. I had to get rid of my truck and get a small car because driving around in a Dodge Ram is really not the best.
Did it have a Hemi?
Oh my God. No Hemi. It was a quad cab though. I did really like driving it. It just wasn't good for work.
Yeah.
So I started working with Judy, and after maybe a month or two, she started passing me some of her clients because she just couldn't handle all the buyers she had. And I put 10 buyers under contract in 10 days, and we fired me as the assistant. I probably wasn't a good assistant anyway. That's not really my forte. I'm much better at selling things and knowing things and, than handling all the paperwork all the time. So, she hired somebody else to take over that. And that year I did 40 deals, and it's just kind of grown since then.
So when did you go into it full time? What year was that? Do you?
Well, I mean, the appliance stuff was, whenever I could find something. So I didn't really have something that was regular full time. So I was a full time agent, before I had my son, the whole time. Like, any time that I could spend in real estate, I would. I just didn't have the clients to really take up at least, 50 to 60 hours of my life every week. So I would say like 2015, that summer, that fall is when I really started getting busy and full time and a half. So, and that's what we've done since then.
I was going to ask you, because I was talking to my friend Marty, and Marty and I were contractors way back when he got into real estate. And he's like, as soon as he gets up in the morning, he's checking email. When he goes to bed at night, how do you juggle that? Because you have a 9-year-old, Marty's a single guy. How do you juggle work life and home life? I mean, talk about that a little bit. That's amazing.
So my amazing son does get dragged to work with me here and there. He used to love to come into showings with me, and he was always very honest. So we'd go in a house and he'd be like, "Oh, I love this place," or he'd say, "This house smells terrible. You don't want to buy it." Yeah. So I'm hoping he's going to have a career in sales as well. But now that he's a little bit older, he would prefer to sit in the car and watch his iPad if he can while I'm inside showing a house. But he still comes in sometimes. I do have a team now, so I have 2 agents that work on my team. So I share a lot of my buyers with them so that I'm not out running around every evening and all weekend long, and I have that time to spend with him. Sure. Because before I had that, I really, he was just with me all the time. So that's opened up a lot of my evenings. And then while he's doing his homework, I'll be typing contracts, running comps on properties, catching up on my email, and then once he goes to bed, I'm running back through my email. And then I try to turn it off for the night, like around 9, if something important comes in, I'll take care of it. Yeah. But then I just pick right back up, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. But I really enjoy it. So, it doesn't feel like work to me. It can get stressful when you have, 15 deals going at once and everyone needs something. And then you've got 10 people shopping, 5 listings coming up. It gets hectic and a little bit stressful. But, I don't know what I would do with all of my time if I wasn't selling real estate.
Exactly. I mean, even retired people. I worked with a guy in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, and he was retired in his 70s, and it's like, I don't know what to do. So he got into real estate part-time, and he's doing very well. But I want to talk about like your team. So you're the team leader of Remotion, right? With Gab. And so tell me a little about the team dynamic and so I know some people are on their own, some people are with the team. What is that like, has been like for you? I know you're passing off leads to them to free up some time, but Let's talk about being part of a team, which a lot of people aren't.
Yeah. So when I first started hearing about teams, I didn't really like them. Like I didn't think that would be the way to go. You're not getting, all the publicity, for yourself. It's all going for the team. But Judy, my broker now, she started as a team.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I got into the team atmosphere and really started to like it. Like it felt like I was part of something while doing my own thing. Kind of like an anchor when you're out there running around doing all this stuff. Plus, you have people to help cover showings for you if something comes up or your child's sick. So I had moved to Asheville, North Carolina in summer of 2019. And I ended up, I figured I'd give it a year. I always wanted to be down there. I've always loved it. I got my broker's license down there and I started working on a team down there, just trying to like emulate what I had done up here. And then about 8 months into living there, COVID happened. So, and New York and North Carolina were pretty similar where, sometimes at first we weren't allowed to show, then we could show, then it was by video only, and they kept changing things. But it really gave me the opportunity to be able to work in both places and build a business in both places because I could do so many things virtually. But during that time is when I was basically sharing all of my clients with other agents in the office. So it looked like I had half the volume that I did. I couldn't say I was a top producing real estate agent that year because I think I only did 4.5 million the first year I did that. So Judy helped guide me into, starting a team and doing it that way. So that's what I did. Summer of 21, I ended up moving back. Everything had, really started to reopen, but my son and I had been down there for 2 years and we had met some people with everything being shut down, it just kind of felt very lonely,
Sure.
So I do actually still work in North Carolina. I have a small team down there as well.
Awesome.
Just mostly referral stuff and repeat clients. But when I came back up here, I decided to really focus on having a team up here and utilizing them. So I have 2 agents that work with me now, Luke Deiger and Michaela Norris. Michaela just came on a couple months ago. Excuse me. So she's working with me on all of my listings so that, I've got her coming to as many listing appointments as I can, just helping me get the paperwork done. And then, you got to run out and do the lockbox. You got to bring out the brochures and all of the other things that I'm doing. It's not always convenient for me to drop what I'm doing and do that. So Michaela helps with all that stuff. And then, she has her own clients that she represents. And then with her and with Luke, I have buyer leads that come in on my listings all the time. So sometimes I'll call them and qualify them and then hand them off to one of the agents. Sometimes I just pass the lead right over to them, and they've got to do the qualifying if I'm super busy. But then even with my past clients and, repeat business clients, I'm bringing them in to help me because especially in the competitive market we're in right now for buyers are making offers on 3, 4, 5 homes before they finally get a home.
Wow.
So you're doing 3 to 5 times the work that we were doing, 5 years ago.
Wow.
So it helps them grow their business. If it's a lead that I give them, that's their client for life. If they decide to leave the team, they take that client with them. I want my agents to grow their business and be successful and enjoy doing what real estate as much as I enjoy it. So
yeah, well, you touched on something that I want to just we don't have a lot of time in this first segment, but I want to just touch on something real quick. You mentioned COVID. You mentioned doing videos. I know you're huge into videos. You have amazing videos. Is that when you really started to do the whole video thing, or were you doing videos before that?
I wasn't, and that's not even really when I started doing the video marketing. So I would say, so the COVID videos, a lot of people started using Matterport to do virtual tours, or you have agents, so that somebody can look at the virtual tour from home. If you're not familiar with Matterport, it's kind of like a picture, but you click through it and it walks you through the house. And there are a couple other programs that do that as well. So we were, we were doing a lot of that on listings. But then for showings, either, myself or somebody from my office and then someone from my team might just have a buyer on a FaceTime call on their phone, and we're walking through the house, showing them everything that we can, because they couldn't even get in for a showing until after they decided they wanted to buy it from the video. for a little while anyway. But yeah, so then I had done some virtual open houses, and I was just honestly very uncomfortable being on video. And about this time last year, I got a reach out from someone that the American Dream TV show,
Right.
and they asked me, to come to this meeting. I didn't know what it was about, so I went and I listened, and I was just like, oh, I want to do this. And having joined that, because it's not just life, or it's not just real estate, it's mostly a lifestyle program. So when I do the episodes, I'm interviewing business owners, and then maybe I'll show a little bit of real estate. But it's really helped me get a lot more comfortable on the screen. And
Sure.
it's also introduced me to, a lot of different people and a lot of different marketing options that people were doing. So, some of the agents that I follow are doing videos, that are like mine. I will not say I have reinvented the wheel, because I am certainly trying to emulate some of them. But that's really what kind of pushed me into it. And this one agent I follow, she's down in Arizona. She had said, I don't care if I'm listing, like a $40,000 piece of land or a $2 million property. All of my clients are going to get the same marketing. I'm offering for everyone. So that's what I'm going to do too, and that's what I've been doing.
That's awesome. We'll talk more about that when we in the next segment. But for everybody who's listening right now, what is the best way? And I'm going to put it up on the screen here. Sure. I want people to be able to get a hold of you. If you are in the Albany Capital District, the greater Albany area, which is a lot. Okay.
Yes, I work an hour from Albany, so Saratoga.
Sure.
Green County, Cavalieri.
Sure. There's a lot of counties down there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to highly recommend that you get Rebecca as a real estate agent if you're buying or selling a home or whatever that is, property, investment property, whatever. She's very knowledgeable. I mean, we're talking 12 years in the business. So, it's up on the screen, but tell people you like text, because you're a texter.
Text is always the fastest way to get me, because I'm always, very busy. So it's easier for me to just shoot a quick message back sometimes. But you can call me or text me at 518-210-4916. And then you can also reach me by email. I'm on my email all day, but checking it at least once an hour. And that's Rebecca, REBECCA at GablerRealty.com, which is GablerRealty.com.
Yeah. Rebecca, thanks so much for being on the show. I hope you had a fun time, and I hope it made it fun for you. Everybody, We're going to be right back with more of the Life and Homes podcast right after these messages from our sponsors.
Thank you.